Okay, this is going to be the first video lesson in the Conics unit for pre-calculus. I want to start out just by going over the different types of conics. There's basically four. Okay, there is the parabola, okay, the ellipse, the circle, and the hyperbola. Okay, now there are four types of parabolas. One's going up, down, right, and left. Only one type of circle. Okay. There are two types of ellipses, okay? Ones that look like that, ones that look like that. There are two types of hyperbolas, all right? They open this way and they open this way, okay? So that's what the shapes look like, all right? So you have to have an idea of what the shape is going to be, okay? First thing we're going to focus on is how to identify by the equation, okay? Not in standard form. Okay? A big component of this is understanding, and we'll do some examples in a second. A parabola. Parabola is probably the easiest. It has one square term. Okay? That's the easiest to figure out. If it's got one square term, it's a parabola. The next three have two square terms. Okay? So circle, ellipse, and hyperbola. Now what's the difference? Okay? All right, for circle, x and y squared will both be positive. The same for the ellipse. Where the big difference is with the hyperbola. Either the x squared or the y squared is negative. So it's probably easy to figure out if it's a parabola by looking at it if it's got one square term. Okay, if it's got two, if either one of those is negative, it's a hyperbola. Okay, so parabola, hyperbola. Okay, if it's not one of those two, it's got to be the circle or the ellipse. How do we tell the difference? The difference is between the circle and the ellipse is these numbers in front of x and y squared. For circle, they will be the same. For ellipse, they will be different. So sort of the order in which you want to look at figuring this out is it a parabola? Then is it a hyperbola? Okay. Then is it a circle? If it's not one of that, it has to be the ellipse. Okay, so that's sort of the order that we would look at. Okay, so let's go through some examples, identifying the conic. Okay, all right, so I got more than one square term. Okay, so it can't be a parabola. Both x squared and y squared are positive, so it can't be a hyperbola. Okay, now when I look at these, this number here are different. So this will end up being an ellipse. Okay, I got two squared terms here, so it can't be a parabola. Both of them are positive, so it can't be a hyperbola. Now, since these are both the same, this will be a circle. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay, if I look through, I only got one square term. It's easy. That is going to be a parabola. Okay, that is going to be a parabola. All right. All right, the next one. Okay. This has two square terms, so it can't be a parabola. Now, since this y squared is negative, this is going to be a hyperbola. Okay? I'll go to this next one. I got one square term. That makes this a parabola. Okay? Go here, I got two square terms, so it can't be parabola. But since x squared is negative, all right, it's a hyperbola. Okay? All right, so what I like you guys to do is to identify the conic, okay? All right, given the equation. All right, so you should pause your video and go ahead and do this, okay? Now, since there's two square terms, not hyperbola, but since that's negative, that's a hyperbola. It's not a parabola because there's two square terms. Here I got one square term, boom. So that's got to be a parabola. Okay? The next one, I got two squared. Both are positive. Both are the same. So that would be a circle. Here I got one square term, so that is a parabola. Here I got two square terms, and these are different. So that's an ellipse. Two square terms where one of them is negative. That's a hyperbola. Okay? So it's going to be big for us as we go through here is identifying which ones they're going to be. Okay? Now, here are the types of equations you could see. Okay? All right? This also will help you figure out how do you write your final answer. Okay, we're going to write stuff in standard form. It's going to be a big part of what we do. Okay? All right? Parabola obviously has one square term, x or y. Okay, circle. It's got two square terms. There's no fraction underneath. Okay, and it equals a number. All right? It equals a number. All right? The ellipse and the hyperbola look pretty much the same. Okay? They all equal 1. Okay? The big thing is, remember, the hyperbola is going to have that minus between them. Okay? The ellipse is going to have the plus. Okay, that is the big thing. Okay, so the big thing with circle is no fraction. Notice how the bottom part here, all right, has a fraction. Circle does not have a fraction. All right, the minus and the plus, and also the equals 1 for the ellipse and hyperbola will be important. We'll get into the parabola one in a little bit. Okay, so what I would like you to do is, are we going to do these together? Yeah. All right, so let's go through these. Which ones would these be? Okay, squared with a minus, this is going to be a hyperbola. Okay, no fraction with two square terms, that's going to be a circle. Square terms with a plus here, that's going to be an ellipse. And just one square term, that is going to be a parabola. Okay, so go ahead and take a minute. Pause your video and go ahead and work on these. Okay, unpause, this is going to be the circle. Okay, this has one square term, it's going to be the parabola. All right, square terms with a plus, and the fraction parts, that's going to be an ellipse. Okay, square terms with the minus and the fractions, that is going to be the hyperbola. Okay, pretty simple. Okay, so that's identifying. Okay, maybe later in the chapter we'll go over the graphing of these and then finding of them. Okay? Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is writing the equation of the circle in standard form. Okay? Now, we should be able to identify that this is a circle because I have two square terms and the number in front of here happen to be positive. They're positive and they're the same. Okay, so they both have 1. So what you want to do, I'm going to walk you through this step. What you're going to do first is group the x's, group the y's, and move your number to the other side. All right, so what I would want to do is I'm going to take the x squared, I'm going to take this x, I'm going to leave some space here. That's going to be important. We'll talk about that in a second. Then I got positive y squared, 10y, leaving some space. I'm going to move the 12 from this side to this side. It becomes negative. Let me move this just a little bit so I got the directions. All right, now, here's the next step, and this is going to be big. Second step is we complete the square. Okay, this is probably the most important process here. Okay, the most important process. So what I'm going to do is I am going to work with these terms. Now, when you complete the square, if you have a number in front of your square term, take it out. Okay? A number other than 1. Okay? In this case, we have 1. We're not going to worry about that. Okay? All right, so here's the process of completing the square. That's step 1. Step 2, divide your non-squared letter by 2. That result will be your factor. Now here's what I mean. I'm going to take negative 12. Okay? I would take negative 12 and I would divide negative 12 by 2. That is negative 6. So this will become x minus 6 squared. And I'll explain why in a second. Okay? Now, what I want to do is once I do that, I want to square the result. It will be positive. Okay? So what is negative 6 squared? Negative 6 squared is 36. Remember, anytime you do that, okay, so I'm going to put 36 on this side, okay, square the result, watch for FOIL. I'll talk about that when we get to the other number, okay? So I squared that, I put that here, okay? And go ahead and put parentheses, that might make this a little bit easier. Okay, watch for FOIL, we'll get to that in a second. All right, and add that number to the other side. Okay, so if I add 36 here, I'm going to add 36 here. Okay, all right. Now I do the same thing with this other middle term. I take 10 and divide 10 by 2, I get 5. That will be my factor for y. I'll explain the squared in a second. I want to square that number. 5 squared is 25. Whatever I put on that side, I also put on the other. Okay? All right? And then I calculate after the equals. Okay, so I want to look at 36 minus 12 plus 25. That is 49. Okay, now let's get back to this. Why does this become this? If I were to do a factoring here of this, okay, and I would like make the little chart, all right, 36, what are the factors of 36? That it would be negative 6 and negative 6. And I would do the box, okay, and what I would figure out is, this would be x minus 6, x and minus 6, so it's x minus 6 and x minus 6, which is what? X minus 6 squared. So sort of the shortcut of what you're doing in completing the square is you're getting this down to just a quantity squared. The same thing would happen if I did this. It would be 5 and 5. So here is my equation of my circle. Okay? We'll talk about if there's a number out in front in a second. Okay? We're going to do a couple more together. We're going to do 2 more together. All right? So what I want to do, group the x's, group the y's. I want to move this number over to the other side so if it's positive 36, it becomes negative. Okay, now, when I have this 4 here, what I want to do is take that 4 out. That would become x squared minus 6x. I want to take this 4 out. This will become y squared plus 8y equals negative 36. So if you take that, divide both of those by that. Okay, now I want to complete the square. So I want to do negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. Okay, that's important. I got to keep this 4 here. That's minus 3 squared. I want to take that negative 3 and square it. That result would be 9. Okay, now here's where you need to be careful. Because I have this 4 here, what I'm going to put on the other side is what 4 times 9 is. That is 36. Okay, so I would put plus 36 over here. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, you got to FOIL that. Okay, then I would take 8, divide 8 by 2, I get 4. Okay, so that's going to be y plus 4 squared. And I'm going to take that 4 and square it, which gives me 16. Okay, now this is where I need to be careful. I take 4. 4 times 16 is 64. So that is what I would add over to this other side. Okay, so that's probably the thing that most people make their mistake on, is they don't multiply this number and then put it over to the other side. Okay, so I got negative 36 plus 36 plus 64. Whoops, that's not right. Negative 36 plus 36 plus 64 gives me 64. Okay, now what you have to do with the circle, all right, with a circle, to finish your problem, all right, you got to divide both sides by the number in front of the parentheses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide everything by 4. Okay, so that would be x minus 3 squared. This would be y plus 4 squared. 64 divided by 4 would be 16. And this would be my final equation. Okay? All right, so circle, a little unique. My camera's moving a little bit here. Okay? Circle, a little bit unique compared to the other ones. Okay? Let's do one more together. Let's do one more together. All right? So what I want to do, I want to group the x's, and I want to group the y's, and I want to move this number to the other side, will become positive 78. I'm going to take this 2 out, so this would be x squared minus 8x. Let's take this 2 out, this would be y squared minus 6y. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to take that negative 8, divide by 2, I get negative 4. So that's going to be 2 times x minus 4 squared. I want to take that negative 4 and square it. That result will always be positive. So positive 16. Now you got to be careful. 2 times 16 would give me 32. That is what I put over here to this side. Okay? Then I would do negative 6 divided by 2. It's negative 3. So I got 2y minus 3 squared. I want to take negative 3 and square it. It gives me 9. Now I must be careful. I got to do 2 times 9, which would be 18, and that's what I add to the other side. Okay? All right, this is going to take some practice. 78 plus 18 plus 32 gives me 128. Okay? All right, now to finish the circle, if I have a number remaining there, I divide by 2 of everything. So this is going to be x minus 4 squared. This is going to be y minus 3 squared. 128 divided by 2 would be 64. So we said, Mr. Evans, why didn't we do that on the first problem? Well, why didn't we do that on the first problem? Because there was a 1 here. I didn't need to do that for that one. Okay, it's only when you got that number out front. Okay? So what I'd like you guys to do, okay, go ahead and pause your video and go ahead and work on these 3 questions. Okay? All right, you can go ahead and unpause your video. I'm going to move these out. We'll handle these on the other problem. Okay. So what I want to do, group the x's and y's. I want to move this number to the other side. If it's negative 3 over here, it'd be positive 3 on this one. Okay? There's nothing really to take out here. Okay, because there's nothing in front there. So what I would do is I'd do 6 divided by 2, which would be 3. That's going to be x plus 3 squared. Take 3 squared, that'd be 9. Now, there's really a 1 here. 1 times 9 is 9. Okay? Then I would do negative 4 divided by 2, which is negative 2. So that's going to be this. Negative 2 squared is going to be 4. Now, if you want to think of this as 1 times 4, that's fine. So if I add all those up there, that's 4 plus 9 plus 3 gives me 16. There's my circle equation in standard form. There's nothing to divide there. Okay? There's nothing to divide there. All right, let's do the second one. Okay. All right, let me get this out of the way. See if I can just move this. Let me get rid of this one. All right. I would love if this worked. Let's see if it does. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Move. Wonderful. Great. All right. So what I want to do is group the x's, group the y's, move this number. It's negative 21 on that side, it becomes positive 21. I have to take out the 3. So that's x squared minus 4x. Take out a 3. This is y squared plus 10y equaling 21. Okay? So what I want to do, I want to take negative 4 and divide it by 2. Now we get negative 2. So I got 3 x minus 2 squared. I want to take negative 2 and square it, which will give me 4. Now I got to be careful. I got to do 3 times 4, which would give me 12. That gets added over here. Okay? Then I want to take 10. Okay? 10 divided by 2 would be 5. Okay? So that's going to be 3y plus 5. I want to square 5. 5 squared is 25. Now I have to be careful. I want to do 3 times 25, which would give me 75. Okay, so plus 75. All right, so I got 21, 12, 75. That's 108. Okay, now since it's a circle, divide all these by 3. So what I got is x minus 2 squared plus y plus 5 squared. Let's figure out what 108 divided by 3 would be. That'd be 36. Okay? All right? Like I said, completing the square will be the biggest challenge, and you definitely need that, okay, for the next level. All right, let's get rid of this. Let's see, can I move this? I can, great. Okay, so what I want to do, group the x's, group the y's. If it's positive, move this number. Positive 48 becomes negative, okay? So I got a situation where I got this 4 here, I'm going to take that out. That would be 2x. Take out this 4, that is minus 12y, negative 48. Okay, so time to complete the square. I want to do 2 divided by 2, which would be 1. So that's going to be 4x plus 1 squared. I want to take this 1 and square it, which would be 1. Okay, now I got to be careful. I got to do 4 times 1, which would be plus 4. That's what I got to add over to this side. Okay? Then I want to do negative 12. Negative 12 divided by 2 would be negative 6. Okay? So I got y minus 6 squared. I want to take negative 6 and square it. I get 36. Now, have to be careful. 4 times 36 would give me 144. So add 144 over here. Okay? So what do I got here? I got 4 minus 48 and positive 144. I got 100. Okay? To finish off the circle, I got to divide by the number that's in front there. So x plus 1 squared, y minus 6 squared equals 100 divided by 4 is 25. Okay? So that is a good stopping point for us. Okay? All right, the completing the square part, for the most part, is going to be the same for every single problem. What will change is, how does the problem finish? Okay, for circle, the way it finished, once we got everything over there, is we divided. What you'll see with ellipse and hyperbola and parabola, it will be slightly different on the finish. It will not be different on how we complete the square. So this is a good start for conics, all right? And we will continue working on that in the next lesson.